That's 7:30, so here we are on the 6th of November already. It's almost the end of the year. Anyway, so we have our agenda, and the first item on the agenda is to receive apologies for absence, and we had absence from Councillor Norton. Request for apologies. Then we have declarations, so if you have any interest, councillors, if you wish to declare. At this moment in time. Okay, thank you very much. Any requests, dispensation requests? No? Okay. So that concludes the first three bits on the agenda. The next bit is to receive observations from the members of the public and receive reports from County and District Councillors.
I do have apologies from Clerk who sent me a written report.
Lovely.
I don't have anything to
No.
council, do you?
No. Well, okay, so first thing is, members of the public. Anybody like to say anything? Andy?
Regarding item 153, I was intrigued to see that item on here with that wording. If you remember back in September meeting, when Rob, I think, raised a couple of proposals for getting more involvement of HAT and others organisations as part of the LHI sign design and positioning, I gave a bit of a report on what we're doing so far. At that point, I think we'd written to and had responses from 970 different hauliers. That's now 1,072 and is increasing slowly but gradually. So we're getting a lot of really good feedback from those, and we always write to them and ask them the reasons why they still come through, and signage is high up their list for that. So I was very glad when that item was on the agenda. And the resolution at that meeting was to involve HAT in discussions of wording and design and location of the sign that's going to be put on Pat Bypass before decisions made. So
Okay, because the item on the agenda is to reconfirm the designs for the HGV signage at the bypass roundabout, which was agreed by Parish Council on the 5th of December 2022, when we put the LHI in. So that's why it says reconfirm.
Right.
Okay.
Is that, but the design of the sign wasn't agreed at that point, was it?
Yes, it was. There were two signs put up in the supporting documents, and the one that was put forward for this meeting is the one that we agreed on, which was the second one of those designs.
Right, so why was the resolution at that meeting to say...
I wasn't here.
Well, I'm just saying the resolution was...
Sense on it, really.
I'm just saying that the resolution in the minutes was to consult the LHI working group would consult with Hilton Action on Traffic when the LHI HGV signage is being finalised in order to ensure optimum placement and wording of the HGV sign.
I'm sure the Parish Council can make a decision on that when we get to 153.
Well, what I'm saying is, from what I've seen of the sign, I think which was in the supporting documents, it really is inappropriate. It's confusing. It will confuse lorry drivers. I think that needs amending and adapting and at least discussing to make it appropriate, or else it could actually make the problem worse, I think, with that wording. So I'd just like to raise that if I can. I've been working with the police, or we've been working with the police, with Sergeant Andy Kurana. He's done a comprehensive review and analysis of all of the signs around the restriction, so at all entrances to that, and has offered to help in design and placement with his experience, obviously, as a policeman. So that offer is on the table, and that was offered as part of this meeting, which was agreed in September, that we would have to discuss this before it was finalised.
I wasn't at that meeting, so I can't comment.
I'll pick that up when we get to the...
Yeah, exactly. We'll pick it up when we get to the event.
So I'd be very disappointed if that sign goes up, because I think, quite honestly, it'd be a waste of money, and also I just think it would be confusing and certainly would not be effective.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Noted. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Ken, sorry.
Yeah, I'd just like to add a bit to that, Peter, if I may. You know, we're working very hard trying to resolve this problem, and as Andy said, the police officer in St Ives that has been helping us, he is well aware of how bad the signage is, and when I actually saw the sign, my immediate reaction was, is absolutely just going to make the matter 50 times worse, because it sort of implies if you go into Huntingdon, use the 1198, but it doesn't actually say if you go into St Ives, please use the 1198 and the 1307. I think to get a little bit more clarification on the actual wording, it would be a fantastic thing to get the input from Andy Karuna. As Andy has said, he's got a lot of experience on road traffic matters, and I'm sure he could. I'm sure he could help us all in getting the wording absolutely right before we spend any money, because it is public money after all, and we want to try and make it. We want to try and make it absolutely cracking. That these lorry drivers have got no excuse about the signage, because that's the thing that we're finding so often. Every single one of them. I think they must either be blind, deaf, or stupid. Most of them, because we didn't see the signage. Oh, we've never come down this road before. Well, you were caught a couple of weeks ago and you told your boss you didn't know about the signs. It's absolutely ludicrous. And unfortunately, the companies are in a position where, if they deal with these lorry drivers as they would like to, then they're left without a driver, and they're then left in, I think we just sort of need to have a conversation with Andy, if nothing else, and let him give us some advice on signage, wording, and all the rest of it.
Well, I think the wording could be similar to the southbound at the Bentley garage. The wording there is very clear, and if that's something similar and reciprocal.
Come up to 153.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Ian, I'm going to ask you to say your piece during the green open spaces, if that's okay. That would be more appropriate to go in there. Okay.
Do you want?
Would we like to hear Claire's report? Yes, we would, please.
It's quite lengthy, so
Okay.
I'll try and abridge it. News from HDC, the climate action rankings. HDC's ongoing efforts to tackle the causes and effects of climate change has seen the Council climb up the ranking tables in the latest Climate Emergency UK scorecard results. According to the scorecards, HDC achieved a score of 27%, positioning the Council around the national average at 96th out of 164 districts. This reflects the Council's ongoing commitment to mitigating the effects of climate change and contributing to a more sustainable future. On Saturday the 18th of November, local people will gather in Huntingdon to talk about climate change. HDC are holding a climate conversation and will welcome families and residents to Hinchinbrook Country Park to learn more about what each of us can do to take on climate action and support nature. On Friday the 17th of November, community groups, business owners, farmers, parish councillors and environmentalists will gather in St Ives to share ideas about tackling climate change, enriching nature and supporting wildlife. It will provide a space to learn from each other with a variety of speakers from across the community. And ALIA are managing a new programme to help businesses across Cambridgeshire, I beg your pardon, reduce their carbon footprint, increase energy efficiency and work towards net zero. It's been created by Cambridge City Council, HDC, South Cambs District Council, the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Growth Hub and the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority, and is funded by the UK Government through the Shared Prosperity Fund. An 18-month programme which aims to support 223 small and medium-based enterprises based in Cambridge, Huntingdonshire and South Cambs, and will also deliver grant funding of up to £5,000 to 75 of these businesses to help them implement energy efficiency related improvements.
Thank you very much. I just see that I'd had that email. Just a little while ago. Good. So that's the end of the public session. We close the floor to the public and we reopen the Parish Council meeting with approved minutes of the Parish Council meeting held on the 2nd of October. Now, I think that was one of the meetings I was unable to attend. So, no comment. Was that one Richard chaired?
Yeah, Richard and John.
Richard and John chaired. So,
Both had a go.
if you're happy, then Johnny, you want to propose it?
Yes, certainly. I'm happy with those minutes. If anyone's got any comments, we've gone through with the meeting. So I'll propose those as being after the meeting.
Thank you. Next item is to review and ratify decisions made under the scheme of delegation. Oh yeah, that's a bigger box, isn't it? The scheme of delegation. Clerk's report. It's open. Do you want to give us a report? Go on.
So we're going to have another cookery course on Saturday, the 18th of November. It has been advertised, but all are welcome. I am still seeking quotes for the drainage holes in the walls with the wear. Unfortunately, many contractors are turning down this work due to the difficulties with traffic management, which would require a temporary traffic regulation order and qualified personnel to close the road, or at least do stop-go boards, traffic lights, that sort of thing, and the equipment needed to drill through the type of concrete. Obviously, I will keep working on that. I have submitted...
There are 2 holes in it already.
There are 2 holes in it already, yeah, but
and
quite
one is
close together.
where the puddle is, isn't it?
Yes.
But so it's not effective.
They filled the drain with gravel, and that's now full of mud as well. So the original plan was that that would be dug out when the other holes were dug out,
Right.
but it may end up being a man with a shovel.
Okay. Thank you.
The precept request has been submitted to HDC, as has the defibrillator grant. I have submitted the Community Ownership Fund application, which included writing a full business case, so it's quite a lengthy application. I have done the maintenance person's induction and reported several street lights to the contractor as faulty, including another one today actually in Tyre Close. I have still not received a refund from Opus, which is in the order of about £6,000, so I'm chasing that. And there is still an HGV sign in Scott's Crescent that says that the HGV limit is in place from 11 till 7, so the local highways officer is going to organise its removal.
Thank you. And then we have one decision to be ratified under the scheme of delegation, which is a response sent to the NOW consultation regarding updating the model financial regulations. So we need to vote on that, don't we? So I'm proposing that we agree, whatever that was.
It's quite a technical.
There's a second. Thank you very much. All those in favour? Thank you. Good. Right. Next is Green Open Spaces report. Right. Did you want to do the whole report?
No.
Okay. I wasn't at the Green Open Spaces meeting, so
the majority of the items that were on the agenda for the Green Open Spaces is itemised on this agenda.
yeah.
The only other thing that was discussed at length and is still being worked on is the renewal of the maintenance contract, which currently expires at the end of March.
So we have a nice note from Ian regarding the nurse trees. Yep. Talking about how the 105 extra trees were planted and that they will need to be pruned out over the years to come, but Ian's claiming he might not be around by 2043.
I'm working on it.
Sorry. And he hopes that the Parish Council will make sure that this pruning work continues, which one would hope that with the Green Open Spaces working group will evolve over the years, and that will be. And they've taken the ones that have been planted so far. The ones I saw on Saturday night in the dark looked right, unless they were just a twig, which is great. Anything to add to that?
If I may,
Yes,
just to say that I think the weather this year has really helped us. I don't know if you're aware, but currently we've had slightly more than the annual average rainfall, but just in those first 10 months. And I would estimate that the establishment is something in the region of about 80–85%, which is an awful lot better than they had on the A14, for example.
Yes. And the Queen's Canopy trees that you've taken as well.
Yeah, apart from one. Yeah.
That's good going as well. That'd be 90%.
Yes, it's there's a decimal place involved somewhere because it was 11 trees.
Yeah. That's good. That is good. And that's thanks to one of our parishioners going,
One particular,
yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
yeah, that's good. Thank you. What's the next one then?
So did you decide on the proposal that the Green Open Spaces group will review the nurseries on an annual basis?
I recommend that proposal as laid out on the agenda. Seconded, and everybody's in favour. The next proposal is that we consider and decide upon the proposal that the council do not install bollards on the green along the high street near the pumping station, so titled in the supporting documents as bollards. So you will note that the grass verge, it is reported that the grass verge along the high street by the pumping station has eroded. The edge of the triangle has been eroded by traffic by up to ½ a metre in, I assume this is a parishioner's
The
estate.
maintenance contractor.
The maintenance contractor used to be able to get the mower along the next to the telegraph pole and now cannot. The suggestion is that the maintenance person could put in some wooden posts along there to prevent further damage, but the recommendation from the Green Open Spaces Working Group, who considered bollards and said not installed due to cost, likelihood of them being knocked down and possible conflict with highways. Bollards at all. So, there we are. Any thoughts?
What's the concern? I mean, obviously, you don't like it being diminished, but is it any danger involved or anything like that? Or?
Not particularly, no. The potential danger is that that bit will not get mown because you can't get a ride-on mower along it, and there's quite a step down, so it needs to be trimmed.
So the decision is to have a fence or some posts as opposed to
Yeah, the
bollards.
request that's been put forward to Green Open Spaces is that bollards be put up, and Green Open Spaces have said no, we don't recommend that bollards are put up.
But did they recommend that there could be some fence? Because you just mentioned the maintenance person putting something up. Are you suggesting something instead of bollards?
No,
So
the recommendation is you just
nothing at all.
leave it as it is.
Just wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. So,
Can we monitor it?
I was going to say, could we look at it in 6 months' time? We could recommend, we can adopt that resolution and add another resolution to say that we'd like the working group to have a look at it in 6 months' time.
Yep.
Tell us what it's looking like.
Sounds good.
Photograph now, photograph in 6 months' time would be useful, wouldn't it? Here you can see whether there's more erosion. Because we don't want it to get eroded away. So there you go, a proposal with an amendment. The amendment being that we ask the Green Open Spaces Working Group to monitor it in 6 months' time.
Yep.
But perhaps with photographs now and in 6 months' time.
We have to vote on the amendment first.
Or do we?
You do it as 2 separate resolutions.
Okay, so first resolution, to consider and decide that on the proposal, do not install bollards. I propose that we go with that.
Yes.
Yep. And then, as an addendum, I propose that we request the Green Open Spaces Working Group to review it and report back in 6 months' time. Or monitor it and report back in 6 months' time. Okay? Happy? Right. Scrub along the town drain. So there is, this has been put out to quote,
Yeah.
and quotes come in at £450 compared to £500.
No, sorry, you've already paid the £500 for the blue areas. The £450 is for the red areas.
Blue areas, red areas?
That's right.
Well, the council doesn't have a colour printer.
I have it in here. And I can, oh look, blue and red, there's a big yellow area as well.
It's very colourful map, isn't it?
We did the blue areas, did we?
Yes, the blue areas have been done and the payment is on the agenda for £500.
Oh, okay. So whilst doing that, it was suggested that we cleared that line along there in red, which is along the edge of the wilderness. No, the green really out.
Around the football pitch.
Yeah.
It does go slightly further round than is marked in that red area.
Yeah.
And that was the stuff that needed industrial
Yeah.
power to shift it.
Yeah, it's mostly blackthorn, which will just pop tyres.
And this has been looked at by the Green Open Spaces Committee, and they suggest that we do it. Correct? Any thoughts, any objections? Apart from the fact we haven't got the money.
The problem, because when we're discussing it, because it's been left for so long, is
Yeah.
why it
Yeah,
needs
absolutely.
that. So if we can bring it down, then we can actually keep it under control with,
Volunteers.
well, the contractor.
Contractors list to
Yeah.
top it in
Not
future.
currently, but we're currently in negotiation with the maintenance contractor about adding it to the maintenance contract.
Okay.
So it's an expense now, but going forward, we're not going to be met with this expense again.
That's the idea, isn't it?
That's the idea. Yeah.
And it does make sense, makes sense to me, because you keep trying to keep the flow of the water without obstruction out of the village, which is always a good thing. So I'm sort of getting the feeling that everybody's happy with this proposal.
Yep.
So I propose that we would do this as per the That's nice. Right, this might be you then, Ian, might it?
Okay. Right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Right. Tree work.
Right, I believe you've all got a copy of the proposed tree work, and hopefully your colour printers will identify that you've got blue, red and green going up. The procedure is that I go around all the trees in the village in some detail with one of the contractors. On this occasion, it took us a long time to go around. I met him at 9:30 in the morning, and he departed the village at 6:30 in the evening. So it was a long day, and it does mean we can look at all the trees, a lot of them. But because we're able to identify the work that needs to be done, then going round with the subsequent contractors is fairly quick. So what I've got here are the 9 areas where we believe work should be done. And what I have tried to do is to allocate that work between these 3 contractors on a roughly equal basis. The only one I would really draw your attention to would be contractor B, because over the last few years we have had to do a lot of work on some trees down Gravely Way, particularly outside 6 and 4 Gravely Way. Although those quotes look as though they're aimed at the same trees, it's worth my while just saying that contractor B will in fact carry out work on more trees in total than the other 2.
Yeah.
He's going to hire a cherry picker, as it's termed, in order to have a crack at them all in one go. So in actual fact, we're getting rather more done than meets the eyes when you look at this quote. So that's why I've gone for him for those 3 in red, because he just gave me a blanket price to cover up all of those trees along there. The remainder are split. I understand that contractor A, who I've highlighted 2 in blue, he is not always the cheapest for those particular trees, and you may well have guessed that he is the one who gives a lot of his time to go around and do the survey, and that's why I've pushed it slightly that way.
That's always.
Yeah. So you can see the total recommended spend comes out at 2,868. There is some that could be deferred if need be, and I've highlighted those at the bottom just to show you. So
Okay, so
that's what I'd like to propose.
thank you. So,
Could I add a point of information, which will probably come through formally, but I was speaking to Russell over the bonfire, and he says that 3 trees have got to come down from in front of Oak Tree Farm, the cottage, because they are causing subsidence in a major way. They've just had a survey done. So presumably it'll come through to the parish council, but it's the thought that presumably the parish will have to pay. I don't know how that bit of ground in front of the cottage is presumably that belongs to the parish.
Yeah. I was made aware of the same thing only
Right.
48 hours ago.
Right. Same
Yes.
source of
Yes.
information. I just wonder whether it might affect the pricing here.
It's early days yet, but we will need discussion on that.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, sure. Of course we will. Yeah. But costly.
yes,
Mhm.
they're on the, out here you're talking about.
Correct.
And two apples and an oak?
Correct.
Big oak?
No.
It was planted in 1980.
I was just wondering whether, when I hear apple, I wonder if that's something that the volunteers would do.
It's
Or
something
they
that
are something,
possibly could be done by the volunteer group.
and I didn't know about the oak.
Even that could possibly
Okay.
come down with the volunteer group.
So I was looking down here and I was trying to work out what, because the ABC seems to go one way and the other. And I reckoned that your A's, which were to be done this winter, totaled 1988. Would that be fair? Taking 400, 320, 350 and 306, 306, 306. Because they're all the ones that are listed as A
Right.
on the left-hand side of the columns. Would that be correct?
Yes.
And then things like number 5 on the list is prioritised B and 4. Would that be
Yes.
an understanding? And number 3 on the list is categorised as C,
Yes.
which means could be deferred. Because I'm looking at the budget as well, and I think we have got what the Green Open Spaces budget is and how much we've got left in that for this current financial year, which is £2,000 and 83 pence. And this lot, so priority A come to £1,988. There you go, £10 Christmas bonus. So the proposed, I would suggest we're looking to get authorised A. And if B can wait a little, because B is another 780. Any thoughts?
As long as they're safe and can
I was
wait.
going to say, is it safe?
If they're safe and they can wait, then it makes sense to hold it back if it works with the budget better, doesn't it?
That work, finance officer? Because we just agreed 450 quid that we haven't got. Budgeted for.
No, that is in this.
Oh, it's.
So assuming scrub clearance is agreed, remaining
Okay.
balance.
Okay.
So that has already come off of that.
So when I said we didn't have the money, we did have the money.
No, you
It was in
do.
the budget.
Well, it depends.
Amazing.
Where you sit on the drill work.
Yes. How would that suit, do you think, Ian? If we said A's
Right.
now?
I mean, obviously, I've agreed these priorities, so basically I'm nodding. As ever, the more we can get done, the better.
Yeah. And there's none of those ones, those are beyond our abilities as people with chainsaws and willingness to chop them down. But the 3 that Claire's mentioned might be within the bounds of.
Possibly so.
Yeah, okay. But we mustn't take it on if it's not.
No, quite.
So, anybody got any thoughts or suggestions or ideas? Or are we happy to propose that those items listed under A are given the green light to be addressed? Cut. Yeah?
Yeah.
I think we have to take the advice
Oh.
of being working body.
Yeah, yeah.
So we don't know any better ourselves.
You see, I think particularly take the advice of Ian. As our tree warden, who's been tree warden, and when he says he visits every tree each year, he knows their name and where they come from. So yes, so there's a proposal. I would propose that we agree 2023-24 tree work as outlined as priority A, which I reckon is a cost of £1,988. If anybody wants to do any mathematics on that, to check me.
1988 was that?
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon it is. Yeah, I'm just checking. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Okay, so there's a proposal.
Second.
Everybody in favour? Thank you very much. Right. The next item on the agenda, to discuss and decide on the co-option of a new councillor. Now there is another agenda item coming up which formalises the fact that when we have co-ops of councillor on, we have always done it by secret ballot. And there would be an amendment to the standing orders to confirm that if that's what we want to do, continue it to be by way of secret ballot. Now, can I say much at this point? Can I say much at this point? We've had an application. Am I allowed to say who? Yes. We've had an application from Clara. Mrs. Clara, who would like to take up a vacant position of councillor, and you have had in your supporting documents, how is that, and everything like that. So, it's quite simple. Y or end, or yes or no, please, on your ballot paper, and then we'll collect them up. Straight that, isn't it? Straight.
Yes, that's a nice simple one.
Yeah. I was reading that thing. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Marvellous. Right, so, at this juncture, I can announce, yeah?
You can,
I can
yeah.
say, congratulations, Pam. Unsurprisingly, uncontested election.
Thank you.
And we'd like to welcome you to be our new councillor.
And Clara can come and
You
join
can come and join. Why don't you come and sit up here, and then you can have a look at the papers that we've got for the rest of the evening, and things like that. Oh yes, you've got to have, you've got to sign that agreement. And then we'll see. Very nice that we've got one of the younger members of the village joining the Parish Council. Eh?
Very good idea. We're delighted.
Yes, we are delighted. See, we're all delighted. So, here we go. The next thing we have to do on the agenda is that enough on that one?
Yeah, we've done.
So the policy group met recently and looked at, first of all, as you can see, discuss and decide upon amendments and standing orders to allow voting on appointments to be conducted by secret ballot. So ever since I came to Parish Council in 2013, every co-option has been done by secret ballot. And the policy group felt that this should be continued and it should form an amendment to the standing orders. Just to, as we've done it, keep going. Is that all right with everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I propose that. Everybody's
Everybody's.
good. Then we have the co-option form, which is the form that Clara completed. I believe you completed that. We asked Richard, you would say yes. So, and this is again to formalise the form that we use, which is signed here. So, are you all happy with that?
Yeah.
Yes. In that case, I propose that we accept that, adopt it formally. And everybody uses, including there. But you have to. The next item is to adopt the co-option policy. Well, you didn't have a policy to complete to support the form, so Nicola has drawn up a policy, which includes the form because the policy was going to be one page. And I didn't read your email about it until afterwards, but it carried out when the policy group met. This was all discussed, and we wanted to keep the policy in line with what actually Nicola does, rather than saying the applicant has to speak at a meeting for 3 minutes to tell us all about it. Yeah, we don't want to do that. So we didn't include that in the policy. However, if you like, it's
Not sure how 3 minutes of bacon is that.
didn't know what to cook yesterday.
Straight out
I do. Right, so we would like to, I'd like to propose that we adopt the co-option policy. Yeah, that's everybody. And then during the application for a grant, which unfortunately wasn't successful for the pavilion, although there was another grant application in process, it came out that the request was for a pavilions letting policy. So Nicola drew up a pavilions letting policy to be able to submit with the thing, and we asked to adopt that policy. Everybody happy with that? Yeah, there you go. So that's that part done. Right. That was it from policy group, wasn't it? To review the Hilton Parish Council Action Plan 2023-2024 and decide upon any actions. Right, so we have an action plan drawn up each year, reviewed after 6 months. This must be 6 months. Is everybody happy with the way it's going? Has anybody got any comments? Has anybody read it? I don't have to answer that question, but has anybody got any comments on how it's going so far this year?
Do we need to recognise under highways about the continued application for the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, as that has now been?
The funding for the consultation has been approved, but you don't have approved for the 20-mile-an-hour limit yet. We've still got a consultation process to go through.
Thank you.
Well, it might be good to ask the government to do it.
Well,
you can't have 20 mile an hour.
Mr. Sunak.
Maybe you should be able to drive anywhere.
We haven't had any action on the cemetery, have we?
No,
No.
there has been some dialogue with the church about it, so I know they're working on it from their end as well.
It's a good reminder though, because I did email people and was promised to reply, but didn't get it. So we'll try again. It's a good reminder. Thank you, Claire. Anybody got any other comments regarding the action plan and how it's going?
We need to amend Spectrum to Journal.
Good point.
Anything else? Because it is an ongoing document, it will be reviewed at year end as the new action plan is set for the following year. We now have a new maintenance person in place. So, did they do the footpath between Cambs and Welsh?
No, that was done by the outgoing
Oh,
meeting later.
Because that was very well done, it was cut back very well.
We make reference to removing the pile of dredge material as well.
So that could be marked as completed. It's been done during this financial year.
Yeah, true. Did we burn it, or did we put it back in the ditch?
The muck away.
Took the muck away. Any other points? Otherwise, I'm going to ask for you to, well, there's some actions, little alterations to be done. Anything else? So I guess the proposal is that we accept that the action plan continues for the next 6 months with this small number of alterations.
So I've got changing spectrum to journal and dredge material marked as completed as the small actions.
Yeah, there wasn't a third one, was it? Because the 20 mile an hour hasn't been agreed or
Still
disagreed yet.
ongoing.
Okay, so that's what the proposal is.
Mhm.
Yeah, there you go. Everybody, thank you. Right. Standing order 3.3T was done on a trial period of 6 months. So this is, Nicola, do you want to tell us about this, as this is a standing order matter?
So this was a trial to add the ability for a councillor to request for the resolution to include the salient points of their statement. The advice is that this is not, and in the updated version of Charles Arnold Baker, it's very, very clear that councillors do not have the ability to add their points from their statement to the minutes.
I think we used it exactly no time since we, the 6 months. But I think it is a useful provision because we did have a couple of instances where the minutes didn't clearly reflect the position of councillors.
They're not supposed to.
Exactly.
They're not supposed to.
Because it's not.
It's very clearly stated here that verbatim councillors' individual opinions are not required.
No, it wasn't an opinion necessarily. It was that something was said in the meeting in the context of making a resolution that was then not minuted, so it was unclear. If you remember, there was one incident with a former councillor
Yes.
that made a representation on behalf of members of the public, but then it wasn't mentioned in the minutes, so people thought that they hadn't made that representation. So the point was just to allow, in an extreme case, for clarity and for transparency, for any one of us to request that something we did say is noted. Now, the concern at the time, and the resistance I met with putting forward the proposal, was that it could potentially use a lot of the clerk's time to, if everybody said, I want this written, I want this written. And clearly that hasn't happened, so I would propose that we continue for another 6 months with that policy in place.
Okay. And there was not a resolution outlined on here, is there?
No, it's to review.
To review whether it's required. Okay, it hasn't been required. The recommendation is that the section should be removed. Okay, so I would propose that the section is removed. And if you're in favour of that proposal,
Could you record the vote, please?
we need a seconder for that first of all. Thank you, Ed. And all those in favour of removing the section,
Can you just hold the
Okay,
iron
yeah.
there?
keep your arms up. You can rest them on the table.
It's seconded, yeah?
Yes.
So I've got 6 in favour.
Those against?
Sorry, 5.
Any abstaining?
Abstain.
Right, thanks. Yes, okay, so the resolution is that number. The additions removed. Okay. The next item on the agenda is to receive a report following the meeting regarding the location of the Swansea bus stop. If somebody who was at that meeting would like to report, please.
I'm happy to interject because although Matt was there,
You can vote for more of it now.
I mean, to be honest, the account in the supporting documents is very comprehensive. From my perspective,
Can we just outline first of all that the meeting was being called because the bus was stopping up at Chapel Lane, Chapel Close, rather than by the bus stop.
yes,
In previous years, in the current academic year, it's only doing one stop, right, in Scots Crescent. And so when we discussed it previously, we said we wanted to speak to the bus company about resurrecting a stop on the west
Potton Road,
side of Potton Road. Yeah,
by the bus stop.
yeah, and then specifically by the bus stop. John, do you remember?
Yeah, so in essence, there were community concerns that there was a heightened risk of a repetition of the very sad circumstances of 2 accidents, one of which was fatal on the Potton Road, by virtue of the fact that the bus company had decided to stop adjacent to Chapel Close, as we've heard. The interim period between that being raised and the meeting, September's meeting when it was brought to council, literally the week before, the demographics of the local villages and the collection meant that the route was amended. However, there was then still a residual issue whereby instead of children, pupils from this side of the Potton Road having to cross to the far side, it was the others from the Chapel Close side of Potton Road that were going to have to now cross to Scots Close, which became the Scots Crescent rather, which became the sole collection for the Swavesey children. There now only being one bus and that being the stopping point. So the argument, the concerns were still valid, albeit that the dynamics of the situation were altered by that amendment, as Matt has said. So that there was a gathering of the clerk, myself, Matt, and then representatives of the bus company, including the driver, and of course we often forget the people with the best observations, those that actually have to conduct the activity. So it was good having the bus driver there, and indeed Cambridge County Council represented by the Social and Education Transport team representative. So quite an informative and long discussion. I think it's fair to say that they, as indeed the meeting showed in September, that there was a sort of a community memory had declined, and certainly I think they were unaware of the history on the Potton Road with regard to residents of children of the village. So it was very informative, and it was helpful for me personally to get that insight into the challenges of getting the bus in and out of both the current and the designated bus stop. So it was quite a long meeting actually, very worthwhile, and it's fair to say that we all were really coming from the same position, which was that safety was the priority. But of course we had to be cognizant of the practicalities, the logistics of how you slot a double-decker in and out of a busy village with resident parking, obstructed lay-by for the bus on the Potton Road at times, and indeed overgrown trees that are overgrowing the carriageway, which we tend not to think about in normal cars, but of course if you're driving a double-decker, you either cause several £1,000s worth of damage to the top deck of your bus, or you knock a branch off and it lands on a baby in a pushchair and the parent waiting to collect or deposit a child onto the bus. So all those factors were brought succinctly into the discussion. Ensuing actions are well logged in Nicola's report. In essence, they were very receptive and will make a second stop in the designated bus stop on Putnam Road. However, that doesn't completely resolve the problem because, as I've said, there are certain logistical challenges. The fact that the whole of the bus stop is not designated no parking, so there is still the ability for residents to park at one end of it, which is okay if you're only driving a stubby bus, but if you're driving a full-length coach or a double-decker, the amount of turn you need in to prevent you basically being 45 degrees into the curve does really require the whole of the lay-by to safely swing in. And to not do so means that you've got this partial obstruction of the zebra crossing, which is very unfortunately located at the end of the bus lane, of the bus lay-by, bus stop. So it's a case of getting the best solution out of a less than ideal geography. We've got some actions for various levels of publicity, engagement between the school, the bus company, the journal, hopefully. There's some actions for HPC contacting residents whose trees overhang the areas, and you can see from the photographs it is quite significant.
Yeah.
Personally, I wouldn't want to have my tree overhanging like that, because if something did drop on someone, it could be a bit awkward.
Then just one point actually on that, I think a lot of those trees are protected, because I know somebody, not one of those directly in view, but one just beyond it, has to get permission, planning permission to
Conservation there, isn't it?
to trim them, so.
But obstructing the highways and events, so there's a balance.
And I'm sure that permission, under the
Would be
circumstances,
granted,
would almost inevitably be granted for public safety reasons and obstruction of the highways.
I'm not sure if they're protected ones along there, but apart from kind of conservation area.
There's no TPOs on there.
No,
But it's just a conservation area, so they're protected under that. It's effectively the same protection as a TPO.
Right, okay.
So really, it's a case, I guess, to hear opinions and observations on that which has been done, that which is proposed to be done, and any additional considerations which we may wish to go forward. So
I had just one quick question. Was there any, I picked up the point about needing to, ideally, to extend the bus stop area from where it's currently used for parking legitimately. Is there enough room to turn out of Scott's Crescent into an extended bus stop? Because I was just looking at the picture. There's not a lot of, so for John, we show a picture here. If you turn out here, if the bus turns out here to go to the bus stop, is that the route it's now going to take?
Well, in essence,
on both sides.
yeah.
I just wondered whether, if you extended the bus stop, does that actually help?
Yeah.
Well,
You don't necessarily need the whole lay-by. For where the lay-by is, you could probably leave parking for 1 or 2 cars.
Oh, okay.
But so at the moment the bus stop is about 1/3 of the lay-by.
Yeah.
If the bus stop was 2/3 of the lay-by, that would give them sufficient
Yeah, it's just
space.
whether when you swing out of Scott's Crescent,
Yeah.
you can take advantage of that
Basically,
extra
it needs
space.
to swing out and hit the red car and
Yeah.
the car in front of it
I see.
in order to get the bus within
Right, so
the
if he took
actual...
those 2 spaces, he could use it.
Yes.
Coming out of Scott's Crescent.
Is that lay-by designated parking for particular houses?
Not as far as I'm aware. I've got no evidence to say that it is designated
just
as
a
particular.
lay-by.
It's just a lay-by.
That
Yes,
has a
and the
bus stop in it?
Stop.
So in theory it can be extended without too much issue?
It would need to be a TRO, a traffic regulation order, which wouldn't be cheap. You know, if you look at the TRO that you had to reduce this to 30 mile an hour, that was £4,000.
What, so to put some markings down on
It's
the
the
road?
consultation process. Again, any TRO you have to advertise and consult on, so it's that time and the officer time in assessing it that you pay for. And then, of course, the actual street works to put the markings on, and there'd be a sign to put up as well. Interestingly, the sign that's there says 7 till 7, and the actual normal bus is up 7.
Yeah.
So, slightly
Right.
ironic. So technically, you can park in the bus stop marked area between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m.
Yeah.
But the bus
Okay, but the
actually
bus-
arrives at 6:30.
But not the school bus.
Not the school bus, the
comes
public
at
bus
6:30.
arrives at 6:30.
Yeah. So out of all the action points that are on there, that's the one that we haven't really got any control over.
The only control you would have over that would be part of the affidavit.
Yeah. Okay. So that's going to be a lengthy process.
Yes.
That actually is quite a key one to all the actions that.
It's the one that's going to happen most of the time.
Exactly.
But
It's a shame, isn't it?
if the residents there all agreed that they would not park there, then you would say-
Yeah.
But then there's nothing to stop the Amazon man being
Yeah, I
there.
was going to say it's
at
not just
that
the
point the
residents
bus
parking
comes
there,
round.
so-
Hmm.
Just a convenient anyway.
Can you put aggressive signs up and can you suggest fines or use it with some kind
The
of...
parish council doesn't have the powers for that kind of action, I'm afraid. That level of enforcement would be council.
Yeah.
So,
And then the
Yeah,
enforcement of
signs
those
case,
signs
so-
would be the police. So,
You do see it around, you see it in Cambridge, but
yeah.
we're not in a village, that's no.
So the proposals were that the first one is that the authorised clerk to sign a joint letter from the bus company, Cambridge County Council and Hilton Parish Council to Swavesey Village College parents to advise them of the change. Oh, the bus
The
stop.
bus, so that this letter is
The bus
basically
route.
going to say that the bus stop in Potter Road is going to be reinstated.
Yeah.
Remind them that they signed up to the policy that says technically they have to escort their children up to 16 years old to the bus stop, and that they are responsible for their child until the time that the child actually physically steps onto the bus. And to remind them of the history of this road and the fact that children have been hurt in one case fatally, and encourage their child to get on the correct bus stop. Because the feeling amongst the teenagers is obviously if you get on at Scots Crescent, you get your pick of the seats.
Absolutely. Why not?
So,
So is there actually a need to bring the bus stop back into play if it's working well in Scots Crescent?
The issue would be, I would suggest, from the, now this has been made, it would be quite a challenge for the bus company to backtrack on the basis that, as we've said, if a parent chooses not to escort their child or educate them in safe road crossing, then the bus hasn't culpability, the bus company doesn't have culpability for that, as long as they're providing a bus stop on the right side. If their refusal to make the children necessitate, that would, I guess, be something they would be now concerned about. I think they were very open and supportive of the second stop. Even, I mean, the words of the manager was, even if one child gets on, we're happy to do it for the safety of that one child.
And if we're going to write to them and say that as parents you are responsible for your children until the age of 16 to make sure they get on the right bus and escort them to the bus stop, are we not going to be saying to them they're responsible until their child is the age of 16 to get them on the bus stop?
absolutely. Technically, that is when you apply for a bus pass, you sign to say that you will abide by Cambridgeshire County Council's transport policy, and their transport policy says that parents are responsible for their children up until the point that they get on the bus.
And a fair few do, in fairness, given that I live there, I see them every day.
The secondary parents or the primary
I don't
parents,
know.
I think you might find that's the primary parents. There is, I would wager, no secondary child would want to be escorted to bus.
But I think
But
within that, putting the history of the accidents that have happened, because I didn't know anything about that. I think it just reminds people of the dangers.
Yeah.
And what I did say is that in this day and age, we are all monitoring those children on their phones. You can see which bus stop they got on by where their phone is. So we're not saying necessarily that, yes, you can. And we're not saying that necessarily they are, the parents are going to be escorting their children, because what 15-year-olds can be walked to the bus stop by their parents. But the onus is on the parent to say, hang on a minute, you got off on the wrong bus stop. Don't be unsafe by crossing the road unnecessarily. And
Responsible, sorry.
it's putting the onus back on the parents,
Yeah.
basically.
And so being responsible is a loose description, it's not in the school. It's to
The
make sure
policy
there's-
states escort, but we don't
Not
expect
got
that
to be realistic,
realistically.
haven't we?
And I don't think even the county council expect that realistically.
No.
And can you just, accidents that have happened, were they when people got off the bus at the bus stop and tried to cross back to across the road towards Scots Crescent?
I don't know from the 85.
Yeah,
I know that it
yeah,
was crossing
I believe
behind the
85
bus.
one was.
So it's where,
Yeah,
so
so
it
they-
could have been stopped on the other side because it would have been, that bus would have been coming from St Peter's. But I would have expected that to have done the same loop. Well, no, sorry, I beg your pardon. The 85 one, the Potton Road was the only stop. So it would have depended on,
Right.
the Scots Crescent stop was instated after that as a result of that accident. And so that would have depended on which direction the bus was going
Yeah.
as to which side they got off and
Yeah.
crossed to.
I think they were in the Scots Close, so I think it would have been at the bus stop side.
Bus stop side.
They got off the bus
crossing
stop
over.
side
And
and
it
then
is,
tried to
Across.
it
And
is
that's
this
the-
crossing behind the bus
and
that's the
that's
issue.
before the zebra crossing.
Both of these
Both
incidents were
the
before the zebra crossing.
Mm.
The 85 incident was when the limit was 40 as well. So obviously the speed of traffic would have been higher.
And will you not need to write to the primary school parents as well?
The primary school bus currently stops at both.
Okay.
So we're not proposing a change to that because that effectively does the same as what we're asking the Sorority bus to currently do. And the majority of primary school children are escorted by a parent. There are a few that aren't, but in the main they are escorted by a parent.
So are you happy as a council for the first resolution, which is for the letter to go? For that to go? Yep. So proposed, seconded, everybody in favour of that going? That's right. You've got to get into it. And you've got to have more chance to read these things. And the second proposal there is to consider the proposal regarding extending the bus stop on Potton Road and decide upon any actions. And this says that if you want to extend the bus stop by getting new markings laid down, it would probably have to go via an LHI bid, which conveniently would bring you onto the next item on the agenda, which tells us that the LHI window of opportunity opens with a response deadline on January the 12th. And we've had a suggestion as well regarding some
Crossroads.
traffic calming,
Yeah.
potential traffic calming measures on the crossroads. So what that needs to do, and I'll rumble it up with 153,
I was quite
is it
amazed
needs
by
to
that.
go to the
Yeah.
traffic group to meet with interested parties within the village and report back to the parish council at the next meeting for a decision to be made, because a decision has to be made at the December meeting in order to apply by the 12th of January. Okay. Now, whether or not, if you're going for if we parish council decides to go for the bus stop markings as an LHI bid, you can get the appropriate consultation done by the 12th of January. It's something that would have to be borne in mind. In fact, with any LHI bid, there is an element of public consultation that has to be done,
Yeah.
and that would have to be undertaken by the 12th of January.
So are you going to delegate responsibility to your officer to decide on the public consultation element of the LHI bid once recommended by the traffic working group?
Which officer?
You've only got one.
Green spaces.
Well, you've got green open space
Yes.
officer. You've got an emergency officer. Neither of those have any remit with
No.
regards to traffic.
So the idea is that we have to meet and come back to the next parish council meeting with our recommendations for the council to agree, so that they can appoint the people who are going to take forward the application.
Okay.
Yeah?
It just leaves you a very short
It
window
does,
that
because but
includes
we can't
Christmas.
do it before, because we've not had a discussion. And we have to do it by the 12th of January if we want to get a submission.
Mm.
So I would like to propose that 151.2, 23, 24, 151.2, 152 and 153 go to the
LHI working group.
LHI working group, under the instructions that they meet and come up with recommendations for the council by,
At
before,
the December meeting.
the December
I've got
meeting.
to present a recommendation to the December meeting.
Yeah, on all three of those. And then that way,
Sorry, and that includes the consultation element, does it?
That was delegated to the working group in the September
Yeah.
meeting, so that's
So we
within
can
your
do that.
remit
Yeah.
already.
Okay.
to go out and consult with the neighbours
Work with whomever they felt necessary.
for the bus stop.
Well, the HGV signage was, the working
Yeah.
group would delegate that.
But they weren't delegated the other authorities. No. So are you suggesting we delegate those to the working group as well now?
Can do, yeah.
So the working group, so we would delegate the abilities for people, for the working group to approach people who live near the bus stop in the first place. But if I'm right, LHI consultation has to be for the whole village.
Yes, it does. But you can do consultation in several stages.
Okay. So let's talk to people by the bus stop first of all, see if they would be prepared not to park there, so that we could extend the bus stop. And if they say no, then you have to put it out to the village. If they say yes, you put it out to the village, but slightly later, so that the local residents agree. Okay. How about that?
Yeah, it's just you merged about three things
I have.
into
That's
one
what I just
meeting,
said.
so,
They need to go to, and all three
Well, I've
things
got-
can go to the working
So
group.
the LHI working group are instructed to review the bus stop,
Yeah,
the LHI improvement, the LHI bid recommendation and the HGV signage.
yeah.
So those are three separate items, so the first two could be merged if that's
right.
the route you choose to go down.
Yeah, I'm just,
Present a recommendation to the December meeting on all three,
Mhm.
and including delegating the ability to consult with the neighbours of the bus stop.
Yeah,
And that's
okay.
all the ability you've got at the moment, because the rest of the consultation that Peter mentioned will be as a result of the December meeting.
so what about the consultation with, we agreed in September?
Well, that's already agreed, that's in a previous resolution.
But if we're having one meeting instead of three meetings, was specifically about the HGV signage.
Yeah, so you've already got the ability to consult with interested parties on the
Yeah.
HGV signage.
Okay.
So is that?
But what I'm
Sorry?
saying is, if we set up one meeting for the LHI committee, do we invite the wider audience to that meeting?
It's a
That's up to
working
the
group,
LHI.
that's the decision of the
Okay.
working group.
Yeah.
Right.
But you have, in this resolution, you have the ability to consult with the neighbours of the bus stop. Under the previous resolution, you have the ability to consult with interested parties regarding the HGV
So
signage.
both apply. Okay.
So you will be inviting people who represented the, is this
Hat.
Hat? So are you inviting the Hat people who've got this
And
experience
the
on signage
police
and are very keen to
yeah,
be,
and the
that's going
police.
to take place?
Maybe.
et
That's
cetera.
up to
So
the
what-
working
that's
group.
something you have to
That's
decide.
the working group who decide who they wish to engage, invite them up. Yeah, I'm not going to put words
We
into
just
words.
wanted to make sure that is.
Okay. But it would also allow that discussion regarding the signage to take place. Yeah. And it would allow discussions for this very nicely presented suggestion regarding the Cotton Road crossroads. Yeah. And I wonder if we should include in the resolution that the working group would also have the ability, the authority to talk to residents in the immediate area of the Cotton Road crossroads. Because if this goes to LHI, we need to do consultation, and if there's no favour from people who live by it, then you've got a problem straight away.
So we've got
Yeah.
neighbours of the bus stop and the crossroads.
Yes.
But that does affect the whole village, doesn't it?
It does.
Rather than just
You would
one.
need to do a wider consultation, but that would be after the December, so the December meeting, the LHI group are going to come with a recommendation that the LHI bid should be for this, and the consultation is therefore going to be based on that recommendation.
Yeah.
Assuming the council obviously approves that recommendation.
Yeah. And whatever the proposals are from the working group, because they might come and say, well, actually, you can't afford any of it.
We don't agree with either of those,
Yeah.
and you've got a new idea?
Yeah.
Do I recall with somewhat be pleased with?
You are a member down, you have...
Only one, is it?
Yeah, so... I think
It's Heather. Heather was there.
Rob, so you had Heather, but it's yourself, Rob and Peter. and now the 3 on the LHO working group.
Would any other councillor like to join that working group? Speak now. That's a tumbleweed.
I'll join it.
Well,
Thanks, Matt. I think it's better tumbleweed. Blew across. Good. Thank you.
Suggestion for the crossroads improvements.
So,
Excellent.
2 separate resolutions there.
Okay, so first resolution, councillor Stock to join working group. Thank you. Claire, stick your hand up if you're happy.
Oh, sorry.
Right, the second resolution is to do all that.
Okay, so the second resolution is that the LHO working group is instructed to review items 151.2, 152 and 153 and present a recommendation to the December meeting, including the ability to consult with the neighbours of the bus stop and the crossroads.
I think that's it, isn't it?
Well, the
Yeah.
153's already done last September, or
What?
Well, we're reconfirming it. It's
Right,
going to
okay,
go
so
to the
it's
LHO
not-
working groups.
yeah, fine.
So I propose that. Seconded by it. All those in favour? Thank you. Right. We'll get that done. What date is the December meeting?
She says very confidently, thank you.
Right.
Get motoring on that, don't we?
No pun intended, Rob.
No pun intended, eh, Rob? It's the way he tells it.
Oh, dear.
Christmas cracker.
Yeah.
That's a dad joke and a half.
It is. Right, okay. So, that deals with those items. Number 154 on the agenda is to consider the quotes for street lighting and energy and decide upon any actions, as the current contract ends on 30th of November.
So I would recommend you take an action because out of contract rates are extortionate.
Yes. And we have budgeted,
We
did
have
we allow for an improvement?
budgeted 3.5, but that also includes the pavilion, energy and water, which is negligible.
So we're presently paying in the region of £1,800 a year. And unfortunately, as everybody knows, the cost of electricity appears to have gone up. And so there are quotes put in, and the proposed cost is between £2,478.55 and £2,559.
Yeah, the two, so
36.
those quotes have been withdrawn because it turns out that utility aid didn't do their adding up correctly. And so those quotes are now 3,040 to 3,144. But I have got an alternative quote from U Energy.
Which is 2777.78.
Yes,
Okay.
is your cheapest quote for a 3-year contract. Now, it is worth noting, now this came from Utility Aid, who I'm falling out of love with a little bit because of the muck-up. I'm trying to establish how they miscalculated their numbers was difficult enough. And when I told them that I had a cheaper quote from U Energy, who incidentally are used by another parish council, they stated that if you go over, if you use more than 10% of your estimated annual consumption figures, plus or minus 10%, then there's a particular penalty fee. But when I said to them, well, how would they know that you've gone over given it's an unlimited supply, they couldn't really answer that question. So I wonder whether that is related to the fact that they want the commission, because we got the quote for U Energy directly with the energy company rather than going via their brokerage. But that was reported to me. I've got no energy, no evidence of that from U Energy directly.
Who is it?
And as I say, I know another parish council that uses them, and I have no issues with them.
You know.
If you want to break out 3 years, there will be a penalty, but do we know what it is?
No. You had 4 years with Opus, and it worked in your favour.
Yeah, outside my house.
No, surely.
And cross control.
Yeah, that is your danger. That's why it's
You, with another parish council, you were aware of the things that they are being used without a problem. Incorporated in 2012, so it's been around a little while. We're looking for something think came up the other month about the possibility of converting the lampposts to LED.
That
we
was
don't know what
shelved
that,
because we don't have
the money to do it.
money, or the evidence to prove the cost savings.
Right,
So
okay.
there's work to be done there.
Because I was just wondering, if we signed up for 3 years, would we be shooting ourselves in our foot? We have the money to be able to do that within 3 years, within the 3 years.
But actually, you wouldn't be fixing the amount, would you? You'd be fixing the rates. So if we did do that, we'd still
I
make
don't
the
know,
same.
to be honest, but, you
Hope
know,
so. I see.
Well, there's
because it's
Unmetered.
Unmetered, well,
would you be changing the contract because it's based on that Euromet certificate?
Well, on that basis, I propose that we went for the 1 year contract, so that we have that option to get out of it.
it's difficult, isn't it? Because
So we
we
find
don't know
out.
what's going to happen in the year.
Not
You
within
only
that,
say-
so you need to
yeah.
make a decision on this, or you're going to pay
Yeah.
a fortune.
Right, okay.
Well, the risk is whether or not it goes up, and then you've lost the chance of the
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
and third year being at the
Yeah.
more competitive rate. So
Whereas I was going for middle, saying 24 months.
Yeah,
Within that
because
time.
there's no difference
Yeah.
between a 24 and a...
No.
Three, no, except you're securing the price for 3 years.
Yes,
So if
if
there
it
was a
goes
big
up
nine.
in 2 years, yeah.
But you don't have the flexibility if we do find it
Yeah.
significantly cheaper to go LED. You don't have the option to change if you locked yourself into paying 3,000 a year. So that's why, because the benefit is just for year one at least is only £4.
Yeah, yeah. And 2 years is 20p, isn't it? 18p, 16p. And obviously, we've just come out of a 4-year deal, which in consideration was okay, wasn't it? Because there was a huge spike in energy prices.
Yeah, and you're protected from it.
Yeah.
Though, I'm slightly concerned that you're going to come out of contract with Opus and they still owe you £6,000.
Yeah.
It's not the best position to be in, but
Yeah.
I will obviously follow that up.
Thank you. So, thoughts, ladies and gentlemen,
I think we should go 24 months.
with you?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think we should go 1 year.
So
Because I think there's too much
Even if you
volatility.
get the LED, you decide to do it,
Yeah.
actually, from start to finish as a project, I would be surprised if that's completed in a year.
and I am very confident that we will have significant inflation over the next 12 months versus I'm less confident over 24 months. I would say that 24 months is a nice balance. So I would be, I think we're hedging on those both ways.
The proposal is that we move forward with View Energy on a 24-month contract.
Yeah.
Seconded, all those in favour?
Yes, yeah.
Right, the next item on the agenda is that Matt has asked a couple of the committees, being Finance and Planning committees, and I'd like to propose that we accept that. Yeah, that wasn't Right, the next item is consider the quote for the new playground basket swing fixing and decide whether to proceed and continue with monitoring. I'd like to hand this over to Nicola, who explained all this to me.
So, I actually met one of these suppliers at the Cacao conference and had a chat with them. So I sent them the pictures of our current fittings on the basket swing and also the findings from the inspection report from Wicksteed. And they said they couldn't understand it because the chains that are fitted to both points of contact for the basket swing are the secondary safety devices. And so they're not clear as to why Wicksteed are recommending a secondary safety device be fitted. They have said they have got some slightly different fittings that they could do, and they've given me a quote for them, but they said that they currently fit their basket swings with very similar fittings to these, and so they just didn't really understand, and their advice was just monitor it. And
I mean, looking at these, the secondary device is the chain, isn't it? So that if the
Yes.
main
if the weld
thing-
joint finish fails for any
So-
reason,
So why are we being recommended to change it?
Well, online playgrounds, so they had two of their chaps look at it and they couldn't see why it was recommended. So their recommendation was continue to monitor,
Yeah,
which
I
is
think
part of the recommendation from Wicksteed is either check it on a regular basis. And it's the point about dismantling the joints. Now I think dismantling the joint is
A chain hand. Okay.
beyond the qualifications of our maintenance person.
But our maintenance person goes into the playground on a regular basis and will be able to monitor and report back if there's any signs of.
He's completed the checklist, so we've got a formal checklist document that's completed on a monthly basis that includes checklists for weeks.
Thank you.
And we're covered for insurance for accidents because we are following recommendations.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
But there won't be an accident because it's got the secondary.
It's got the
fail safe on it.
secondary
So
safety
as long as
devices
somebody
already
notices that the main joint's broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the recommendation is that we continue with the monitoring. All those in favour? Yep. Okay. Next item on the agenda is land registry. So, the parish council's entry of land registry has an address for a person who was a clerk. Four clerks?
I think.
Something like that. So, but to change it, of course, to be Nicola, it costs £150. So that is the proposal to ensure that any correspondence regarding the parish council's land with land registry comes to the right place rather than to a person who has passed it on.
Has passed it on in the past, but yeah. So
We need to spend £150.
Including VAT, well, it's an absolute outrage for us, but we've got to do it.
Rather,
it's one of those where you need to have your face certified. They will now do it via online meeting, rather than, so prior to that it all had to be, I would have had to visit a solicitor's office and do it face to face for them to sign off that I was who I say I am. As part of this I will need a letter from the council to say that I'm authorised to be the contact.
and I'll sign that. So, if you draft the letter,
The
we'll do
ID
that.
to
And we'll propose that we change the address at the land registry.
Yep.
Good. Next item on the agenda is to consider the new fire safety (Englandshire) regulations 2022 and decide upon any actions. So, Nicola, you tell us about this, because you know this.
So this means that you have to have a full fire safety risk assessment, which most buildings already have in place, especially public buildings, but you don't currently have one in place for the cricket building. So you should have a fire safety risk assessment that includes a map that details your fire escape routes and any fire prevention measures. It has to be carried out by a competent person. Luckily, your clerk attended a training course at the Peterborough Fire Station, if I remember correctly, when she was chair of the preschool, because I have done one of these for preschool. It does specify about various fire prevention methods that you need to have on alarm systems, but actually for a building that size with the number of amount of use it has, actually you have no need for any of those sorts of things. The fire brigade's advice was that your procedure should be get out and stay out for any building of that sort of size. So you've got at-risk people, you've got no, if you were in a care home, for instance, you've got elderly people you've got to get out, so you need a process written down as to how you're going to manage that. You don't have anything of concern in that regard. So, yeah, get out and stay out is your policy, but it should be displayed somewhere within the pavilion that, if you see a fire, shout fire and get out. Should just be written down, get out and stay out, and phone the fire brigade, and the address is, that sort of thing should be displayed on the wall.
So the proposal is to ask you to do that and prepare the appropriate notices.
Yes.
Does the fire safety regulations include ensuring that things like the electrics are safe?
Yeah.
Because we did have a sign-off on the electrics, but that must be 5 years.
I believe it was 2018, so it is going to be coming up for review.
And they were done
It's
to allow,
wiring assessment.
yeah, and that was done to allow, to ensure that Fee Suite could still run electricity out through the box and that. There were comments made at the time that perhaps the pavilion would need to be rewired. But so probably as part of this via regulations, we would need to have a new PAT test.
It's not PAT test, it's fixed wiring
One of them.
assessment.
Yeah.
Wiring means, I had one done here not so long ago. But yes, that would be a separate.
Yes, but that would come out as decided upon any actions once we've got the report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we get the report,
Yeah.
and then that would be one of the actions I think will come out. Just as a guess.
Yes.
So are you happy that we propose to ask Nicola to complete the assessment and provide us with the report?
Yes.
There is. I put future council meetings. Time pressures off.
Yeah. Okay, now the next item on the agenda is the Bury Pavilion. So consider the feedback from FCC Communities Grant for the pavilion refurbishment and decide upon any action. So at the minute, the application for a grant was rejected, but there is another application for a grant in
Community
process.
Ownership Fund, which is out of DLUC, which is the Department for Levelling Up in Communities, Housing in Communities. Levelling Up Housing in Communities, DLUC.
So there is a thing that says we wait to see what happens to the outcome of that grant before deciding.
Before you reapply to this one. But as I say, within the Community Ownership Fund application, I also had to talk about how the community had been consulted, and obviously I could talk about the fact it's been discussed at public meeting and it's on the council's public website, but there's been no actual active consultation. So it's possible that that will be another area that it scores poorly on. We just have to wait and see.
So there is a thought that says, let's see what the outcome of that latest grant application is and have the pavilion working group meet to discuss the course of action to bring to the parish council once they're clearer on what way. Because if the second grant application is accepted, then you're done. And if you aren't, if it isn't, then I think it needs a major rethink. But we've got some money set aside, maybe that money we use to keep the electrics up to date, stick some tiles on the roof, and that would be it, wouldn't it?
Ramp in the door.
Ramp on the door. Yeah, but maybe, I don't know, that would be for the pavilion working group to come up with suggestions. So, there you go. There's a proposal. Wait for the other outcome, get the pavilion working group together and come back to the parish council. Rob seconded that? Yeah. And we will vote it. Thank you. Right, to discuss and decide upon any response to the consultation regarding the proposed St Ives neighbourhood plan. St Ives are drawing up a neighbourhood plan. Now we get invites to talk on other neighbourhood plans, and usually they're from villages that are far, far away. But St Ives, obviously, is just up the road. And they have got, I was reading somewhere, that on Saturday the 18th of November, which in fact is the same day as Huntingdonshire's climate thing, they've got a stall in the farmers market to discuss it, and they'd like responses to St Ives Town Council by the 1st of December. Usually we say we have no comment for neighbourhood plans. But I wonder in this particular case whether we should not have a look more, have a deeper look into it.
Is this the one that surfaced a while ago that had a restriction with town and key and with people swimming in the river off the quay?
That was the Market Town plan, design plan, I can't remember what it was called, but that was specific to the Market Town centres. No, this is the neighbourhood plans. This is about where they want development and the type of development that they want. So this is a planning tool, and it forms part of the local planning policy once it's in place.
Is there any, well, I tried to look, but I didn't know where to look to see what their intentions are.
Is it not on that website link?
Yeah,
Well,
it's not here.
Is it? Well, I went to the website link, but I probably was put off. instantly.
It will be a very lengthy document,
Yes.
because it's planning policy, so it will be,
I think it's the proximity and the size, it does exert a significant potential influence on the village.
And there is also a deadline of the 1st of December, which means that they can't come back to another parish council meeting.
So what you've done with this sort of policy before is delegate response to the clerk in consultation with
Yep.
named councillors.
It's only
As I say, little wording, but it is planning policy, so it has to be.
It does came out loud.
Nick, was this what I've done with you before?
Yes, it is.
So we did national planning policy framework,
That
so
was
this
very
is
well.
just a very
So this might be
narrow.
smaller.
It would be a narrower focus because it is basically doing that but specific to St Ives.
Okay.
And it would mean that then any planning application within St Ives, as part of that decision-making matrix, the officers would have to refer to this
Yeah.
policy as part of the local plan.
So it has some import, although perhaps they've shown that their neighbourhood area doesn't come below the old A14. But it, we should have a look.
Dual carriageways.
Yeah, we should have a look and put some comments in, if appropriate, because it might not be appropriate. So, and the comments got going by the 1st of December, so we propose that we ask the clerk in conjunction with some...
I don't mind doing it.
Thank you, Sarah. I can do it as well. And if anybody reads it and goes to the stall and thinks, oh yes, we should be looking at that, please do let us know. But we will be submitting a response by the 1st of July, of December even.
You're jumping ahead, right?
Yeah, 1st of December. So there's a proposal. Anybody else wants to be involved, say now.
That was a
There's a
tumble.
tumble.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably wanted.
Three's a crowd, I think.
Right, okay, thank you for your confidence in that we'll reply appropriately. If we have to reply, or if we do reply. So that's a proposal. It was seconded, it was half a vote done, and now there's a full vote. Right, consider and approve the request from Hilton Feast Week CIC to hold Feast Week on the green from the 21st of July, I did, you see I left, to the 27th of July, with the marquee erected from Monday the 15th of July to Monday the 29th. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
You will believe the amount of work involved in setting up for Feast Week. I basically live in the tent for 2 weeks.
Doesn't that make it hugely expensive?
There's no other alternative. We've looked at alternatives, but it takes such a lot of work.
It's not our concern,
Right, so there's a proposal that we agree to those dates for the Feast Week. All those in favour?
Yes.
Aye. Thank you. Right, the next is to review the bonfire night and fireworks event. We were fortunate, weren't we, with the weather in the end.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen something come up saying, great, the rain's now stopped. And then half an hour later, there was a great deluge.
Just as we arrived with the mould line.
Yes. But it was a really good event. Thank you, Claire, for getting it organised. I think you need some more support, don't you?
I think so.
Yeah. So there does need to be a review of the event and look at areas that could be improved on, areas that went well, and all
I
that.
think the charge should be reviewed.
The charge could be reviewed. Yeah.
I think working back Sunday morning took us 1 hour. There were enough of us and we went round collecting all the rubbish, and actually there was very little litter. People were extremely well behaved around the provisions. The most rubbish was obviously where the fireworks had been put up. So that was done very efficiently and very well. I just have these qualms about it because it's only the second year I've had anything to do with it, and this year I'm kind of on my own doing it.
Yeah.
And
So
that's all great. But the thing is, it's all different. There's a bonfire, there's the feast week, there's the fireworks. and there's us, and they don't sort of meet at all. And I was worried about the bonfire, but we went back to it later on. Of course, it hasn't burnt fully,
No.
so that has to be decided for. So I think it would be good to, in some way, to bring people together just briefly, or have some link with the fireworks committee to liaise, so we know what they're doing and they know what we're doing. And I do think I think we were fine. I don't know what other people felt about taking money, but I think we had enough people taking money. But I was a bit worried about people coming across the green rather than coming up Bragg's Way, because they came behind, and I couldn't always count them. And also, there was a flare just there, and a great puddle. And I started to get a bit anxious because children were kind of heading for the flame because they wanted to go to the puddle. So there's a little bit of a concern about the safety just at that point.
But those are things that could be reviewed, should be reviewed.
And I also think it was all over. We didn't see any of the fireworks. People said they were lovely, but they were, of course, they didn't all go off.
No.
But it was a very, very short display. So I'd like to suggest the review of the fireworks, of the display and the amount we charge. If we're going to put it on, we need to do a good job, and I'm sure it was. But
It was just due to the weather, though, that they
yeah,
didn't go off.
obviously.
They're a cracking display. If we make any noise, I don't know that they could. It was a cracking display. It was a bit short. That was a problem with at least 2 of the boxes didn't all go off. Only a part of them went up, but that's because they must have got down. The money involved looks good. Covers the cost.
Covers the cost and...
Not as much as last year, but last year was a exception. 2.6. So there is a thing that could be looked at as to whether or not the amount that is spent on the fireworks could go up proportionally. Because in the past, many years ago, it was what you took on the day is what you paid put forward next year. So if £800 came on the day, next year, the year after, would be a very small display. But we then did a little thing of saying 1,600 roughly.
Well, it's actually 1,500 that you paid.
And profit above that is ring fence to ensure that fireworks continue, so you don't have those big swings. But it might be time that we look at the £1,500 limit, because what was that, £2,051 this year? That's a little bit of charges to come through. 2,600 last year, 2,200, 300
the
previous year.
Yeah.
So
2019 was the last time that you did not raise profit.
yeah. And how much did we actually take on that then?
1,382.
No idea what happened in 2019.
Must have been a wet one.
Must have been exceedingly wet. So there is that risk, but we have got quite a bit of profit in ring fenced off, so we could look at increasing fireworks and seeing if the amount spent, and seeing if we still make money, and then you can always bring it down. So there needs to be a meeting of the firework group, who are
John, Matt and Claire.
Claire, plus any new members, anybody like to become a member of the firework group. It's not the bonfire group, and it's not putting on the fireworks. This is the event, firework event.
It's worth remembering that the event as a whole is governed by the Parish Council in terms of risk, accountability and insurance.
It is the Parish Council's event.
Yes. So whilst the fireworks are run by a group of volunteers, they are not responsible for them. The Parish Council retains that accountability.
So does that working group need its terms revising to make that clearer?
The working group has no terms because it's just a working group.
So I'd like that group plus any other council. No, clearly not. I don't know if Richard would like to join it, because he was quite involved, wasn't he?
He was very helpful.
He was very helpful, wasn't he? Especially when other people didn't reply to emails they didn't get. Perhaps we could ask Richard if he'd like to join that group, and then get it to meet. So there's no Parish Council meeting in January, but if we could get the firework group to meet between now and the February meeting, because what normally happens with fireworks is that we it comes on the agenda in August or September, are we going to buy the fireworks? Yes. There's your event. So it doesn't get the planning bill. Might help.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say the same thing, but it was true. You were to the meeting where we were trying to decide who was going to do the jobs, but it's very difficult in a meeting such as this to start allocating jobs if you get people to agree to doing it. So all has to be done by email.
Yes, it does. So
anyway, it would be very good to have a session beforehand. I just wondered whether, if we knew who the fireworks people were, because they may have concerns and problems that they're not sharing with us.
There's nothing to stop you inviting them to the meeting.
You can give us the names of people.
okay. So that.
So your proposal is that you're going to ask the fireworks ranking group to convene to review the event and consider a recommendation to present at the February meeting of the council.
Yeah. Please, and can you invite me to that meeting as well? Please. Is that all right, Claire?
I will convene a meeting.
Yeah. Can you invite me to it as well? Although I'm not on the working group.
Before, and this has to be done before February.
Before it's to present to the February meeting of the council, so December or January would be ideal.
Mince pies in December. Mince pies in April. So that's a proposal, and that's everybody's agreed to that. Yes. Good. Thank you very much. And it was nice to see so many people there that we didn't recognise. But it was also nice to see lots of people we did recognise. So the next item on the agenda is receive or review the financial reports. Now I understand that these were reviewed by the Finance Committee not more than 2 months ago.
No, September, so it was going to be October meeting of the council.
Yeah.
The Finance Committee's stamp of approval.
Yes, so that's good. Has anybody got any questions or observations regarding the financial reports? In that case, I would propose that we receive the financial reports. Payments received, none. We have to approve the payments as per the schedule of payments, and there's going to be an amendment to one of them. Do you want me to amend that first and then approve? Right, so the Microsoft Office package is actually £12.36, not £11.28, so I would propose that that payment is amended to £12.36. And then I would propose that we make the payments as per the schedule of payments to be made. Everybody's been done. Thank you. Right, so this leads us swiftly on to councillors' items. Information only, no discussion, no decisions as usual. Let's start with Matt, as he's done this.
The only thing I was going to mention, it was too late to add it to the agenda, was that the I believe that the recycling bin collection down Church Lane wasn't possible last week because it was obscured by the builders who were demolishing the Bone corner.
Thank you. Claire? Sarah?
No, nothing.
Rob? Me, yes, don't forget, it's Remembrance Sunday, on Sunday, or Sunday on Sunday. There is a church service at Hilton Parish Church at
10:45 at the Lich Gate, 11 in the church.
If any of you would like to come along, everything will be great to see. It's usually very well done. That's the only thing I have to say, so thank you very much for coming, and that's the end of the meeting.